All right, so get this. We're diving deep into Dolores Cannon's work.
Oh, yeah.
The 3 waves of volunteers and the new Earth.
Excellent.
We're talking excerpts about souls coming to Earth from, well, not Earth.
It's really fascinating how Cannon even got into this whole volunteer idea. It was almost by accident, really. She's doing past life regression therapy.
Right.
And people kept describing these lives that just didn't fit with anything we know about Earth's history.
So it wasn't like 1 or 2 weird sessions.
Yeah, no.
She was seeing a pattern.
Exactly. It wasn't just souls, deciding to take a vacation on Earth or anything. These volunteers, as Cannon calls them, they actually chose to be here.
Wow.
They came to help humanity during like a really critical time.
Okay.
Even if it meant giving up memories and abilities from their past lives.
So let's unpack this.
Okay.
She talks about 3 waves of these volunteers.
Yeah.
When does this whole timeline even begin?
So the first wave, according to Cannon, started arriving around the mid-20th century.
Okay.
Now imagine being a soul used to peace and light.
Right.
And suddenly you're in the middle of World War II.
Oh my gosh, talk about a rude awakening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book uses Richard the Protector as an example.
Right, Richard.
Yeah, in a past life, he was guarding some kind of pyramid.
It
was emitting this protective energy against threats from space.
Okay.
Now he feels this intense urge to protect Earth. Like it's just ingrained in his very being.
Like it's his job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That feeling of not belonging.
Yeah.
Of being a fish out of water.
Totally.
That's like a hallmark of the first wave. They came to a world in turmoil, a world still recovering from the war.
Yeah.
It was a real struggle for them to adjust.
I bet.
To the density and negativity of Earth's energy.
So how do you spot a first waver today?
Oh, that's interesting.
Are they just walking around feeling lost and confused?
What many first wavers, you say?
Yeah.
Having lived through such intense global conflict,
right,
they develop these really strong coping mechanisms.
Okay.
They tend to be very grounded, very practical people, often drawn to professions that offer stability and security.
I see.
They might be the ones who always feel a sense of responsibility for others. Almost like they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Interesting. So it's not just about feeling out of place. It's how they respond to that feeling.
Exactly. How they try to find their footing.
Yeah.
In this unfamiliar world.
In this world that doesn't feel like home.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, as we move into the 1960s and 70s, we see the arrival of the second wave.
Right.
And it's not surprising that this wave brought with it this huge surge of love and peace.
Makes sense. After the upheaval of the war, you'd want a wave of souls focused on healing.
Exactly. Bringing people together.
Bringing people together, yeah.
It's like the universe trying to restore balance.
Yeah, trying to right itself.
Exactly. Their mission was to counteract all that negativity left behind by the war and inject some much-needed positive energy into the world.
Right. Think about the movements for peace and social change.
Absolutely.
That exploded during that era.
It's no coincidence.
It's like they were the driving force behind all that cultural transformation.
Exactly.
The book mentions Dorothy the teacher, right?
Oh, yes, Dor.
What was her story?
So Dorothy, in a past life, was sent to a civilization.
Okay.
Much like the legendary Lemuria, to help them evolve.
Lemuria, like the lost continent?
Yes.
Wow.
It's thought to have been this highly advanced spiritual civilization that existed thousands of years ago. And in that past life, Dorothy was actually punished for teaching the Lemurians too much too quickly.
Wow, punished for sharing knowledge. That's wild.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, what was the reason behind that?
It's almost as if some force, or maybe a group of beings, didn't want them to evolve too rapidly.
Interesting.
The book doesn't really delve into the specifics.
Okay.
But it raises some fascinating questions about who might be controlling the pace of human evolution.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So if the second wave was all about love and peace, what about the third wave?
Right.
They're the ones born from the late 1980s onward, right?
That's right.
So if you're listening, there's a good chance you're part of this wave.
You might be.
Yeah.
And what sets the third wave apart is their heightened sensitivity and intuition. They often feel deeply out of place, like they just don't fit in with societal norms.
Right.
And according to Cannon, they're here to help humanity navigate a major planetary shift.
Whoa, hold on.
Check.
So we're not just talking about cleaning up leftover negativity from the war anymore.
No.
We're talking about prepping for a whole new reality.
Exactly.
Okay.
Cannon's research suggests that Earth is on the verge of a massive shift into a higher dimension, a realm of higher consciousness and spiritual evolution.
All right, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Before we get into the details of this shift, tell me more about these third wavers.
Sure.
The book gives an example of Pamela the Lightworker, right?
Yes.
She was implanted with devices to help her adapt to Earth's energy.
That's right.
Which honestly sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But this idea of implants is something that comes up repeatedly in Cannon's work.
Oh, okay.
And it's not about microchips or anything like that.
Right.
It's more about energetic implants, subtle adjustments made to a soul's energy field.
I see.
To help them function in a denser, more challenging environment like Earth.
Okay, so we've got these 3 waves of volunteers.
Yes.
Each with a specific mission.
Right.
But why Earth?
That's a good question.
Out of all the planets in the universe, why choose this one?
Right.
With all its problems and complexities.
That's a question that many of Cannon's subjects ask themselves, especially during those regression sessions.
Yeah.
And the answers, while varied, often pointed to Earth as a sort of cosmic training ground.
A training ground? What do you mean by that?
Imagine Earth as a place where souls can experience an incredibly diverse range of emotions, challenges, and lessons in a very concentrated form.
Okay.
It's like a fast track for spiritual growth. A place where souls can evolve more quickly than they might in other realms.
So even though it might feel like we're slogging through life down here, it's actually an accelerated path of spiritual development.
That's the idea.
Wow.
And the volunteers, despite their origins in higher realms, often find themselves struggling to adapt
I can imagine.
to this intense environment.
Right.
They might feel this deep sense of separation.
Yeah.
A longing for a home they can't quite remember.
Right, like a homesickness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where that fish out of water feeling comes in.
Right, they just don't feel like they belong.
Exactly.
But they stick it out, right? They push through the challenges because they know they're here for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They might not consciously remember their mission.
Right.
But they feel this deep, intuitive pull to help to contribute, to be part of something larger than themselves.
And that brings us to the big question.
Yes.
What are they preparing us for?
Right.
What is this coming shift all about?
Exactly.
All right, I'm ready. Let's dive into that in part 2.
So we left off talking about this coming shift.
Yeah.
This major planetary transition that Earth is supposedly heading towards.
Right.
Now, Cannon's research suggests this isn't some sudden apocalyptic event.
Okay.
It's more of a gradual awakening, a shift in consciousness that's already underway.
So not a doomsday scenario.
No.
But more of a cosmic evolution.
Exactly.
Yep.
Think of it as Earth and everything on it vibrating at a higher frequency, moving into a realm of greater harmony, peace, and spiritual awareness.
That sounds pretty idyllic. But I have to admit, with all the chaos going on in the world right now, it's hard to imagine such a dramatic transformation.
I get it. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
And Cannon acknowledges that this transition period is going to be challenging.
Okay.
There will be resistance. There will be upheaval.
Right.
As the old structures and ways of thinking crumble to make way for the new.
So what exactly does this higher dimension look like?
What can we expect?
Based on Cannon's research.
Yeah.
It's a realm where negativity and suffering are greatly diminished.
Okay.
Imagine a world where people are more connected to their intuition, their higher selves.
Right.
Where empathy and compassion are the norm.
So less ego, more unity.
Exactly. Right. And it's not just about individual transformation. Right. It's about a collective shift in consciousness. A realization that we're all interconnected, part of a larger web of life. But how does this shift actually happen?
Okay.
So what are the mechanics of it?
Think of Earth like a giant radio receiver. Right now, it's tuned into a certain frequency.
Yeah.
One that's dominated by fear, scarcity, and separation. But as more and more people awaken to their true nature, as they start vibrating at a higher frequency of love and compassion, that signal starts to get stronger.
So it's like we're collectively turning the dial to a new station. Yeah. One that's broadcasting a more harmonious and enlightened reality.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And the volunteers, with their higher vibrational energy,
right,
are acting as amplifiers, helping to boost that signal.
Okay.
Making it easier for others to tune in.
That makes sense. But what about those who are resistant to change?
Right.
What about the people who are clinging to the old ways?
Well, according to Cannon, everyone has the potential to evolve.
Okay.
It's not about forcing anyone to change,
right,
but rather about creating an energetic environment that makes it easier for them to choose a different path.
So it's more about creating a pull towards the light, rather than pushing people away from the darkness.
Precisely.
I see.
And this is where the volunteers' missions come into play.
Okay.
They're here to help guide, support, and inspire others.
Right.
During this transition period.
During this time of big change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember Alice the Beacon?
Alice, yeah.
Her energy, according to Cannon, acts as a sort of lighthouse, guiding others through the turbulent waters of this shift.
Okay. I'm starting to see how it all fits together.
Good.
But let's talk more about these missions.
Okay.
What are some of the specific roles that volunteers play?
Well, they're incredibly diverse.
Okay.
Some are healers, using their energy to help mend not just physical bodies,
right,
but also the energetic fabric of the planet.
Wow.
Others are teachers.
Yeah.
Bringing in new knowledge and perspectives, helping us expand our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
Cannon even describes grid workers.
Yes.
Which, if I'm being honest, still sounds a bit like something out of a fantasy novel to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the concept is actually quite fascinating.
Okay.
According to Cannon's research.
Yeah.
These grid workers are responsible for maintaining and repairing Earth's energetic grid system.
So what exactly is this grid system?
Okay, so
and how do they interact with it?
Imagine Earth as having this network of energy lines, crisscrossing its surface, kind of like the meridians on an acupuncture chart. Well, these energy lines, or ley lines as they're sometimes called,
right,
are said to carry vital life force energy.
Huh.
That affects everything on the planet.
So it's like Earth's circulatory system,
Yeah.
but for energy instead of blood.
Exactly.
Okay.
And grid workers are like the energetic maintenance crew, making sure that energy flows smoothly and efficiently through this system.
Right.
They might use crystal sound or intention to clear blockages, amplify energy flow, or even repair damaged sections of the grid.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Good.
And the book gives an example of Evelyn the grid worker, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Evelyn.
She felt compelled to place crystals at specific locations.
That's right.
Almost like she's following an invisible map.
Many grid workers feel drawn to certain power spots or energy vortexes, places where the energy is particularly strong.
Okay.
And they might intuitively know how to work with the energy in those locations to benefit the planet as a whole.
So it's not just about individual healing or personal growth.
No.
It's about contributing to the well-being of the entire planet.
Exactly.
Wow.
And what's even more fascinating is that many volunteers report having unusual abilities that help them carry out their missions.
We're talking about things like heightened intuition, telepathy, that sort of thing.
Yes, but it can go even further than that.
Oh, really?
Some volunteers describe the ability to manipulate energy heal with their touch.
Okay.
Or even, well, this is where it gets really wild, pass through solid objects.
Okay, hold on, passing through walls. Now we're getting into superhero territory.
I know, right?
Is that even possible?
I know, it sounds unbelievable. And Cannon admits that even she was skeptical at first.
Right.
But these accounts came up repeatedly in her sessions from people of different backgrounds, cultures, and ages.
So it's not like they're consciously trying to develop these abilities.
Yeah.
It's more like they're remembering something they once knew.
Exactly.
Because something that was innate to them in their previous existence.
That's the idea.
Wow.
And these abilities often manifest in ways that directly relate to their missions.
Okay.
Healers, for instance, often report an ability to sense and manipulate energy fields.
So it's not about gaining superpowers for personal gain.
No.
It's about using these abilities to serve a higher purpose.
Precisely.
Okay.
Now, it's important to note that Cannon isn't presenting any of this as absolute truth.
Right.
She's simply sharing what she uncovered through years of meticulous research and therapeutic work. But her findings raise some profound questions about the nature of reality, about who we are and why we're here.
It's definitely challenging our assumptions about what's possible, that's for sure.
It is.
But let's bring it back to our listener.
Okay.
If someone's listening to this and thinking, wow, this resonates with me, could I be a volunteer?
Yeah.
What are some signs they might be experiencing?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to approach this with an open mind and a healthy dose of discernment.
Okay.
But here are a few things that Cannon's research suggests might be indicators.
All right, lay it on me. What should our listener be looking out for?
Well, first and foremost, that nagging feeling of not belonging, like you're a stranger in a strange land.
Okay.
Many volunteers, especially those from the first and second waves, really struggle to fit into those like societal norms.
Right.
They might feel drawn to alternative lifestyles, spiritual practices, or anything that helps them connect with like a sense of purpose beyond the material world.
So basically, if you've ever felt like you were born on the wrong planet, that could be a clue.
It could be. And it's not just about feeling different.
Right.
It's about having this deep yearning for something more. This sense that there's more to life than what we're being told.
Okay, that resonates with me. What else?
Another common sign is heightened empathy.
Okay.
And sensitivity. Volunteers often feel deeply affected by the suffering of others.
Yeah.
Both humans and animals.
Makes sense.
They might be drawn to healing professions or find themselves absorbing the emotions of those around them.
So they're like emotional sponges soaking up the vibes of the world around them.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
And this can be both a blessing and a curse.
Right.
You know, it allows them to connect with others on a deeper level. But it also makes them more susceptible to negativity and emotional overload.
That makes sense. It must be exhausting to feel everything so intensely.
It can be. And that's why it's so important for volunteers.
Yeah.
Especially those of the third wave.
Right.
To learn how to protect their energy, to set boundaries, and to create practices that help them stay grounded and centered.
So self-care is crucial for these folks. What else should our listeners be aware of?
Well, another interesting sign is having vivid dreams or memories that don't seem to belong to this lifetime.
Like what?
These could be glimpses of past lives on other planets or in other dimensions.
Ooh.
Or even just a sense of knowing things that you can't explain logically.
Oh, that's intriguing, having flashbacks to a life you never lived.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these memories might not always be clear or detailed.
Okay.
They might come in the form of symbols, feelings, or intuitive knowing.
So it's about paying attention to those subtle nudges, those whispers from the subconscious.
Precisely.
Okay.
Now, one thing that really sets volunteers apart is their strong sense of purpose.
Okay.
Even if they haven't consciously figured out what that purpose is yet.
Right.
They have this deep inner drive to make a difference.
Yeah.
To contribute to something larger than themselves.
So it's less about ambition or ego and more about service to humanity.
Exactly. And that service can take many forms.
Right.
It might involve healing, teaching, creating art, raising awareness, or simply being a beacon of love and light in a world that desperately needs it.
Now, I know some listeners might be thinking, this all sounds a bit far-fetched.
Right.
How do we know this isn't just wishful thinking or a way to make ourselves feel special?
That's a valid question.
Yeah.
And it's important to approach these concepts with a critical mind.
Right.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Cannon's research, spanning decades and thousands of cases, consistently pointed to these patterns, these recurring themes. And it's not just her work. There's a growing body of evidence. From near-death experiences to quantum physics. That suggests our reality is far more complex and interconnected than we might imagine.
So it's about expanding our definition of what's possible, of looking beyond the limitations of our current understanding.
So
now let's circle back to something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Those implants that some volunteers receive.
Yes.
You mentioned Pamela the Lightworker.
Right.
Who was implanted with devices to help her adapt to Earth's energy.
That's right.
What exactly are these implants and how do they work?
Okay, so
it's hard to wrap my head around the idea of someone having a device implanted in their soul.
I know it sounds pretty out there.
Yeah.
But Cannon's research suggests that these implants aren't physical devices.
Okay.
They're more like energetic adjustments made to a soul's energy field before they incarnate.
So it's like a cosmic tune-up to help them navigate this dense earthly realm.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And the purpose of these implants varies.
Right.
Depending on the individual's mission.
Okay.
Some might be designed to enhance certain abilities, like intuition or healing powers.
Okay.
Others might help to filter out negativity.
Right.
Or make it easier to adjust to Earth's denser vibrational frequency.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense. But why Earth?
Right.
Why would these advanced souls choose to come to such a chaotic and often challenging planet?
Well, as we touched on earlier, Earth seems to be like this unique training ground for souls.
Right.
It offers this wide range of experiences, challenges, and opportunities for growth that you might not find in other realms.
So it's like a cosmic boot camp for the soul.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
And Cannon's research suggests that many volunteers chose to come to Earth specifically to help with this planetary shift.
Yeah.
To be a part of this grand evolutionary leap.
That's a pretty amazing thought that we're not just going through this alone.
Yeah.
That there are these incredibly evolved beings who chose to be here with us.
Right.
To help us through it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It reminds us that we're part of something much larger than ourselves. A cosmic tapestry woven with threads of love, purpose, and interconnectedness.
And even if someone listening doesn't identify as a volunteer, doesn't this whole concept still offer a sense of hope?
It does.
A reminder that we're not just random beings wandering aimlessly through life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether we're volunteers or not, we're all here to learn to grow and to contribute to the evolution of consciousness. And if anything, these volunteer stories invite us to consider the possibility that we might be more than we think we are, capable of more than we can currently imagine.
That's a powerful message to leave our listeners with. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Dolores Cannon's work, what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from this conversation?
I think the most important takeaway is this. Pay attention to the whispers of your soul. Those subtle nudges, those intuitive feelings, those moments of synchronicity. They might be guiding you towards your own unique path of purpose and contribution.
And even if we don't have all the answers, even if we don't fully understand the grand scheme of things, we can trust that we're exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're meant to be doing.
Beautifully said.
And who knows, maybe, just maybe, you'll discover that you too are an Earth volunteer.
You might be.
Here to play your part in this extraordinary chapter of human evolution.
That's right.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of Earth volunteers.
Absolutely.
We encourage you to explore Dolores Cannon's work further.
Yes.
And to keep those whispers of your soul close to your heart.
Good advice.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep shining your light.
Did you get any of that?